It happened the second I touched the cold metal handle of the operating room doors. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird, and sweat was pouring down my back despite the freezing hospital air. I was about to burst in, desperate to see my husband, desperate to know he was still breathing. Suddenly, a hand shot out from the shadows. It wasn't gentle. It was a hard, firm grip that yanked me backward with surprising strength. "Hide. It's a trap." A voice hissed right in my ear. I tried to scream, but a hand clamped over my mouth. I looked up, terrified, and saw a young nurse with wide, fearful eyes. Her name tag read, Olivia. She didn't give me a second to process. She shoved me into a dark, cramped supply closet just feet away from the operating room and pulled the door shut, leaving a tiny crack open. "Don't make a sound," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Just watch." 10 minutes later, the doors to the operating room hissed open. I was expecting a gurney. I was expecting doctors rushing with a defibrillator. I was expecting silence and sorrow. But what I saw made my blood turn to absolute ice in my veins. To understand why I was shivering in a broom closet at 2 a.m., you have to go back a few hours. That night, the rain was coming down over the city like it was trying to wash the whole world away. It was a heavy, angry storm. I was sitting on my living room couch, staring at the clock on the wall. Tick, tick, tick. Midnight had come and gone. My husband, James, wasn't home. James was a contractor, a hard-working guy who built skyscrapers and luxury condos. He was always busy, always stressed, but he always called. "Hey babe, gonna be late, love you." That was our rule. But tonight, nothing. His phone went straight to voicemail. "The subscriber you are calling is not available." That robotic voice was starting to sound like a mockery. I paced around our apartment. It was a nice place, too big for just the two of us, honestly. James insisted on it. He liked to show off his success. Earlier that day, we had a fight. A stupid, loud fight right in the kitchen. It was about the bank accounts. I had noticed some weird withdrawals, large cash sums taken out over the last month. When I asked him about it, he blew up. He threw his coffee mug into the sink, shattering it. "You don't trust me, Emma. I'm building an empire for us, and you're counting pennies?" He had stormed out, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. I hadn't seen him since. Now, guilt was eating me alive. Maybe he was right. Maybe I was being paranoid. I just wanted him to walk through that door so I could apologize and make him a sandwich. At 12:45 a.m., the house phone rang. We never used the landline. It sat dusty on the hallway table. The shrill ring cut through the silence like a scream. I jumped, dropping the pillow I was hugging. I ran to it, my hands shaking so bad I could barely lift the receiver. "Hello? James? Is this Mrs. Emma Miller?" The voice on the other end wasn't James. It was deep, monotone, and terrifyingly professional. Yes, this is Emma. Where is my husband?" "Ma'am, you need to listen carefully. There has been a severe accident on the I-95 interchange. Your husband's truck hydroplaned and flipped multiple times. He has been airlifted to downtown Memorial Hospital. He is currently being prepped for emergency surgery. His condition is critical." Critical. The word hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Is he going to make it?" I choked out. "The trauma team is doing everything they can. The head of surgery, Dr. William Davis, is scrubbing in now. You need to get here immediately." Dr. Davis. I knew that name. He was James's golf buddy. A smooth-talking, expensive doctor who James worshipped. "The best hands in the state," James always said. That gave me a tiny sliver of hope. At least his friend was operating on him. I'm coming right now." I didn't even grab an umbrella. I grabbed my keys and ran out the door in my pajamas and a trench coat. I didn't care how I looked. I drove like a maniac. The rain was blinding, turning the highway into a blur of red taillights and glare. I ran 2 red lights. I honked at a taxi that was moving too slow. I was praying, bargaining with God. "Please don't take him. I'm sorry about the fight. I don't care about the money. Just let him live." When I pulled up to the emergency room entrance, I abandoned my car right in the ambulance lane. A security guard started yelling, "Hey, you can't park there." I tossed him the keys. "Move it yourself." I screamed and sprinted through the sliding glass doors. I was drenched, shivering, and crying. "James Miller, where is my husband?" I yelled at the reception desk. The lady behind the glass looked startled. She typed fast. Miller, yes. 4th floor, surgical wing. Operating room 4. But ma'am, you can't go up there yet. I didn't listen. I saw the elevators were taking too long, so I hit the stairs. I ran up 4 flights, my lungs burning, my legs feeling like jelly. I burst onto the 4th floor. It was quiet up there. The air smelled like rubbing alcohol and floor wax. I saw the sign at the end of the long hallway, surgical suite, no entry. The red light above the door said surgery in progress. That was when I started running toward the doors. That was when I was ready to barge in and demand to see him. And that was when Nurse Olivia grabbed me and pulled me into the darkness. Now, back in the closet. It smelled like old mops and bleach. I was pressed against a shelf of cleaning supplies. Nurse Olivia was breathing hard next to me. "Why?" I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "My husband is dying in there. Let me go." "He's not dying," Olivia whispered back, her voice hard. "Look." She pointed to the crack in the door. I squinted into the bright hallway. The red light above operating room 4 turned off. The electronic lock beeped. The doors hissed open. I braced myself. I prepared to see a covered body. I prepared to see a grim-faced Dr. Davis coming to tell me I was a widow. Instead, Dr. William Davis walked out. He pulled his surgical mask down, revealing a wide, relaxed grin. He wasn't covered in sweat or blood. He looked like he just finished a round of golf. He peeled off his gloves and tossed them into a bin with a casual flick of his wrist. "Clean break," Dr. Davis said, laughing. "Easiest money I've made all year." Then, a second figure walked out. It was James, my husband, the man who was supposed to be in critical condition, the man whose truck had supposedly flipped on the highway. He walked out on his own 2 feet. He was wearing blue hospital scrubs, stretching his arms over his head like he had just woken up from a good nap. He wasn't limping. There wasn't a scratch on him, no bandages, no blood. He looked healthier than he had in years. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. My knees buckled, and I slid down the wall of the closet, but Olivia held me up, putting a finger to her lips. "Shh." Then, a third person walked out. A woman. She was tall, blonde, and wearing a tight nurse's uniform that was definitely not standard issue. It was Sophia. My supposed friend Sophia. She was a medical supply rep I had known for years. She came to our BBQs. I had cried on her shoulder about James working too much. She walked right up to James and wrapped her arms around his neck. James laughed that deep, familiar laugh that I used to love and kissed her. A long, passionate kiss right there in the hospital hallway. "You did good, babe," Sophia purred, pulling back. "I thought you were going to crack when the intake nurse asked for your ID." "Please," James scoffed, checking his watch. "I own this place. Well, practically. With the money we're about to make, I'll buy the whole wing." "The wife is on her way," Dr. Davis said, checking his phone. "Security says a crazy woman in a trench coat just ran past the desk. That's gotta be Emma." "Perfect," James said. He leaned against the wall, looking so smug I wanted to vomit. "Is everything prepped for Act 2? "Ready and waiting, Doctor," Davis said. "We move you to the recovery room. We hook you up to the monitors. I've already rigged them to beep erratically. You look pale, weak. You just survived a massive internal hemorrhage. You're a hero." "And Emma?" Sophia asked, raising an eyebrow. "Emma is going to be a mess," James said, chuckling. "She's soft, she's gullible. She'll see me lying there, hooked up to tubes, and she'll sign anything I put in front of her. The consent forms for the emergency secondary procedure are on the clipboard, Doctor," Davis explained. "We tell her that while you survived the crash, we found an aneurysm near your heart. It needs immediate high-risk surgery. We tell her it costs a fortune, and insurance won't cover it up front because of some loophole. She has to sign over the liquidation of her trust fund and the business assets to pay for it immediately." "And once she signs?" Sophia asked. "Once she signs," James said, his voice dropping to a cold, sinister tone I had never heard before. "The money is ours. And poor Emma. Well, the stress of her husband's tragedy might be too much for her. I have a sedative prepped," Sophia said, tapping her pocket. "Wait for her to panic. I'll offer her something to calm her nerves. A little injection. She faints from exhaustion. We check her into a room for observation. And sadly, Dr. Davis finished the sentence. She suffers a rare fatal reaction to the stress medication. A tragedy, a grieving widow dying of a broken heart. It happens. They all laughed. It was a sick, casual sound. They were planning my death like they were planning a dinner menu. "I'm done with her," James said, adjusting his scrubs. "She's been asking too many questions about the accounts. She's getting annoying. I need that money, and I need to be free. Let's get this over with." "Switzerland is calling my name." "Go lay down, hero," Sophia said, slapping his chest playfully. "Make it look convincing." "I was born ready," James said. He walked down the hall toward the recovery rooms, acting out a limp now, getting into character. Sophia and Dr. Davis followed him, disappearing around the corner. The hallway was empty again. I sat in the dark closet, shaking so hard my teeth chattered. My world had just shattered into a million pieces. My husband wasn't hurt, he wasn't loving, he was a monster. He had been stealing from me, sleeping with my friend, and now he was going to kill me for my inheritance. "You okay?" Nurse Olivia whispered. She was crouching next to me, her face full of pity. "Why?" I croaked out. "Why did you help me? You work here. You could lose your job." "I've been watching Dr. Davis for months," Olivia said, her eyes flashing with anger. "He's dirty. I've seen him fake charts before, upsell unnecessary surgeries. But murder? This is new." I was in the break room when I heard them rehearsing. "I knew I couldn't let you walk into that room. If you walked in there, you weren't walking out." "They're going to kill me," I whispered, the reality sinking in. "If I don't sign, they'll kill me. If I do sign, they'll kill me." "Not if we stop them," Olivia said firmly. "How? It's 3 against 1. Dr. Davis is the chief of surgery. James is. James. Who will believe us?" "We need proof," Olivia said. "Hard proof. Not just my word against theirs. We need the charts. We need the fake X-rays they planted. And we need to catch them confessing." "They took the charts with them," I said, hopeless. "No." Olivia smiled a little. "That's the physical file. But Dr. Davis is arrogant. He enters everything into the digital system to make it look official for the insurance payout. He has a private server in his office where he keeps the real records versus the fake ones. He thinks he's untouchable." "Where is his office?" "Basement level, but it's locked with a biometric scanner." I looked at my trembling hands. I felt fear, yes, but underneath the fear, something else was starting to bubble up. Rage. Hot, burning rage. James had looked me in the eye this morning and lied. He had wasted 10 years of my life. He thought I was weak. He thought I was soft. "I know his password," I said suddenly. The memory flashed in my mind. A few months ago, James and Dr. Davis were drunk at our house. Davis was bragging about his security. He said his passcode was the date of his biggest payday. "You do?" Olivia asked. "I think so, but we can't just walk down there. They're expecting me in the recovery room right now. If I don't show up, they'll come looking." "Exactly," Olivia said. "You have to go to them." My eyes went wide. "Are you crazy? You want me to walk into the trap?" "You have to play the role, Emma." Olivia grabbed my shoulders. "You have to go in there, cry, scream, be the hysterical wife they expect. Distract them, keep them in that room. While you do that, I'll go to the basement. I'll get the files." "No," I shook my head. "If they realize you're gone, they'll know. And I can't. I don't know if I can look at him and not scratch his eyes out." "You have to," Olivia said, "because if you don't, they win. James wins, Sophia wins. They take your money, and they laugh over your grave. Do you want that?" I thought about James's smug face. I thought about Sophia's laugh. "No," I said, my voice steadying. "I don't want that." "Then listen to me," Olivia said. "I can't go to the basement. My badge doesn't have clearance. Yours doesn't either, but I swiped a master keycard from the security desk during the shift change." She pulled a plastic card out of her pocket. "But if I use this, the alarm triggers at the desk. I need you to create a diversion so big that security is too busy to look at their monitors." "A diversion?" "Go into that recovery room, play the victim, but when they ask you to sign, don't. Stall, make a scene, make them panic, and then—" Olivia paused. "You need to get James's phone." "Why?" "Because James records everything," Olivia said. "I heard him say it. He records his business deals to blackmail people later. He probably recorded the planning of this whole thing to hold over Dr. Davis if things go south. If you can get his phone, we have the audio. So the plan was simple. Walk into the lion's den, act like a broken woman, steal the phone, create chaos, survive. Okay, I stood up. My legs were still shaking, but my fists were clenched. Let's do it. I'll wait by the stairwell, Olivia whispered. As soon as you get the phone, run. Don't look back. Meet me on the basement floor. We get the files. We upload everything to the cloud, and we call the cops. Be careful, I said. You too. You're an actress now, Emma. Breaks a leg. I took a deep breath, fixed my hair to look even messier, and rubbed my eyes to make them redder. I stepped out of the closet and back into the bright, sterile hallway. I walked toward the recovery room. My heart was pounding, but my mind was clear. James wanted a grieving widow? I was going to give him the performance of a lifetime. I reached the door marked Recovery 2. I could hear the fake beeping of the monitor inside. Beep, 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 beep. I pushed the door open and threw myself into the room. James! Oh my God, James! I screamed, rushing to the bedside. The scene was perfectly staged. The lights were dim. James was lying in the bed, eyes closed, looking pale and frail. There were tubes taped to his arms that I now knew went nowhere. Doctor. Davis stood by the monitors with a grave look on his face. Sophia was in the corner, holding a clipboard, looking like a concerned angel. Emma, Dr. Davis said, his voice soft and somber. I'm so glad you're here. It's been a rough night. I grabbed James's hand. It was warm. Of course it was. He was fine. I squeezed it, digging my nails in just a little too hard. James, can you hear me? I sobbed, burying my face in the sheets to hide the disgust in my eyes. James fluttered his eyes open. He let out a weak, pathetic groan. Emma, baby, you came. Of course I came, I cried. I was so scared. He's very weak, Sophia said, stepping forward. She put a hand on my shoulder. Her touch made my skin crawl. But he's a fighter. Emma, James whispered, his voice raspy. I need you to do something for me. The doctor, he says there's a complication. A complication? I looked up at Dr. Davis, widening my eyes in fake terror. Yes, Dr. Davis nodded. The crash caused a micro-tear in his aorta. We stabilized him, but it's a ticking time bomb. We need to operate again. Now. Oh no, I wailed. Please save him. We can, doctor, Davis said, sliding the clipboard toward me. But the specialized equipment, it's not covered. The hospital administration is blocking the procedure until we have a payment guarantee. It's $500,000 up front. $500,000? I gasped. We don't have time to argue with insurance, James whispered. Please, Emma, sign the papers, liquidate the trust. Do it for me. I don't want to die. I looked at the paper. It was exactly what Olivia said. A transfer of power of attorney and a liquidation order. If I signed this, I was broke, and soon I'd be dead. I looked at James. He was giving me his best puppy dog eyes. I can't sign this, I stammered. The room went deadly silent. James's eyes flashed with genuine annoyance for a split second before he masked it. What do you mean, baby? James asked. It's for my life. I mean, my hands. I held them up, shaking them violently. I'm shaking too much. I can't hold a pen. I'm having a panic attack. I started hyperventilating, loud gasping breaths. I think I'm going to pass out. Calm down, Emma, Sophia said, her voice sharpening. She reached into her pocket. I saw the glint of a syringe cap. Here, let me give you something to calm your nerves. No! I screamed, jumping back and knocking over a tray of instruments. Clang! Crash! The metal tools scattered everywhere loud as a gunshot. I need air, I yelled. I need to call my mom. I can't make this decision alone. Emma, there is no time, Dr. Davis snapped, losing his cool. Sign the damn paper. I have to call her. I fumbled in my pocket for my phone, but then I saw it, lying on the bedside table next to James. His phone. I lunged for it. I'll use yours, James. Mine is dead. No. James sat up, forgetting he was supposed to be critically injured. Don't touch that. He grabbed my wrist. His grip was strong. too strong for a dying man. "Let go!" I shrieked. "Give me the phone, Emma," James snarled, his mask slipping completely. "Stop acting crazy and sign the paper." "You're not hurt," I said, my voice suddenly dropping the hysterical tone. I looked him dead in the eye. "You're holding me pretty tight for a man with a torn aorta." James froze. Dr. Davis froze. Sophia stopped moving. "What did you say?" James whispered. I said. I yanked my hand back, snatching his phone with me. "You're a liar, James, and you're a terrible actor." I turned and bolted for the door. "Get her!" James roared, throwing the covers off and jumping out of bed. "Don't let her leave with that phone." I slammed through the door into the hallway. "Help! Fire! Help!" I screamed at the top of my lungs, smashing the fire alarm lever on the wall as I ran past. The klaxons exploded into life. Whoop! 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 Strobe lights flashed. The quiet floor turned into chaos. Nurses ran out of rooms. Patients started yelling. I sprinted for the emergency stairs, clutching James's phone like a lifeline. I could hear heavy footsteps behind me. James was chasing me, and he was fast. The fire alarm was deafening. Whoop, whoop, whoop. The strobe lights mounted on the ceiling flashed in a disorienting rhythm. Bright white, pitch black, bright white, pitch black. It was like running through a nightmare. I slammed into the heavy metal door of the emergency stairwell, my shoulder taking the brunt of the impact. I didn't feel the pain. I didn't feel anything except the primal urge to survive. "Emma, get back here!" James's voice roared from the hallway behind me. It wasn't the voice of the man I married. It wasn't the voice of the man who whispered sweet things to me on our anniversary. It was a guttural, animalistic sound. I risked a glance backward as the heavy door swung shut. Through the narrow vertical window I saw him. James was sprinting, his face twisted into a mask of pure fury. He wasn't limping. He was an athlete, a predator, closing the distance with terrifying speed. I threw my weight against the bar of the door, locking it just as a heavy thud shook the metal frame. He had hit the other side. I didn't wait. I grabbed the railing and threw myself down the concrete stairs. I skipped steps, jumping 2 or 3 at a time. My slippers slapped against the cold concrete. I lost one on the landing between the 4th and 3rd floors. I didn't stop to pick it up. I kept running, one shoe on, one foot bare against the gritty floor. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy footsteps echoed from above. He was in the stairwell. "You can't run forever, Emma." James's voice bounced off the concrete walls, magnified and distorted. "The exits are locked. Security is on lockdown. Where are you going to go?" I didn't answer. I needed to save my breath. Tears were streaming down my face, hot and stinging, mixing with the sweat. My mind was racing faster than my feet. Basement. Olivia said basement. Master keycard. Server room. It was my only chance. If I went to the lobby, Dr. Davis could have security intercept me. He could claim I was a hysterical, mentally unstable wife who stole a patient's property. They would sedate me before I could say a word. No, I needed hard evidence. I needed the files. I hit the 2nd floor landing and nearly wiped out. My bare foot slipped on a wet spot someone had spilled a soda. I grabbed the railing so hard I felt my shoulder socket pop, swinging myself around the corner. "I hear you, Emma," James taunted from the floor above. He was gaining on me. He knew the layout of this hospital better than I did. His construction company had built the damn annex. I reached the ground floor level. The door to the lobby was right there. Through the small window, I could see chaos nurses running, security guards shouting into radios. It was tempting. So tempting to just burst out there and scream. But I saw Dr. Davis standing near the reception desk, pointing toward the stairs. He was directing 2 burly guards my way. They were cutting me off. I spun around and kept going down. B1, basement level 1. The air changed as I descended past the ground floor. It got colder. The smell of antiseptic and floor wax was replaced by the smell of damp earth, oil, and ozone. The lighting changed too. The flashing strobes stopped, replaced by flickering, sickly yellow fluorescent tubes that buzzed like angry hornets. I hit the bottom of the stairs. The door to the basement was heavy, painted a dull industrial gray. I pushed it open and stumbled into the hallway. It was a maze of pipes and conduits. Steam hissed from a valve overhead. It looked more like the engine room of a ship than a hospital. "Emma!" A whisper came from the shadows behind a stack of linen carts. I jumped, nearly dropping James's phone. "Olivia?" Nurse Olivia stepped out. She had ditched her scrubs top and was wearing a gray hoodie over her uniform, trying to blend in. She looked terrified. "Did you get it?" she asked, her eyes darting to the stairwell door behind me. "I got the phone," I gasped, holding it up. "But James is right behind me. He's in the stairwell. We have maybe 30 seconds. 30 seconds is enough," Olivia said. She grabbed my arm. "Run." We took off down the basement corridor. This wasn't the shiny public face of the hospital. This was the guts of the building. We ran past the morgue. I saw the silver doors and shivered, and past the laundry intake. "Where's the office?" I asked, my chest burning. "End of the hall behind the boiler room," Olivia said. "It's soundproof. That's why Davis likes it. He can conduct his dirty business without anyone overhearing." We reached a heavy oak door that looked completely out of place in the concrete hallway. It had a sleek, black keypad and a biometric scanner next to the handle. A gold plaque read, "Dr. William Davis, Private Administration, Authorized Personnel Only." "Okay." Olivia pulled out the stolen master keycard. Her hands were shaking so badly she dropped it. "Pick it up. Pick it up," I whispered, screamed, looking back down the hallway. I expected to see James turn the corner any second. Olivia snatched the card from the floor and swiped it. The light on the lock turned yellow. "Access pending." "Come on," she muttered. The light turned red. "Access denied." "What?" I felt panic seize my throat. "You said it was a master key." "It is." Olivia swiped it again. "He must have overridden the master protocols for this specific door. He's paranoid." "Try it again." She swiped a third time. Red light. Access denied. From down the hallway, near the elevators, I heard a ding. The service elevator doors slid open. "There he is." James's voice boomed. "Check the laundry room." He hadn't come down the stairs. He had taken the elevator to cut us off. He was at the other end of the hall. We were trapped in the middle. "The code," I said, staring at the keypad. "It needs a manual code override." "You said you knew it," Olivia hissed. "Think, Emma, think." I closed my eyes, trying to block out the sound of James's footsteps getting closer. I went back to that night at our house. James and Dr. Davis were drinking expensive scotch. Davis was laughing, bragging about his new boat. What did he say? "I never forget the day I became a rich man, James. The day I cleared my first million. Best day of my life. Better than my wedding. Better than my kids being born." "The day he made his first million," I whispered. "What date?" Olivia asked frantically. "Emma, he's checking the rooms. He's going to see us in 5 seconds." "I don't know. I don't know the date." I was hyperventilating. "Wait. The boat. He named the boat after the date. The August 12th. "Try it," Olivia yelled. I punched in the numbers. 0812. Beep. Red light. Wrong. "Damn it." I kicked the door. "Think. What year?" Olivia grabbed my shoulders. "Was it this year?" No. It was. It was the big lawsuit. The class action he settled. 5 years ago. 2019. The 12th of August 2019. I punched it in again. 081219. The keypad stayed silent for a heartbreaking second. Click. Green light. Yes. I grabbed the handle and shoved the door open. We practically fell inside, slamming it shut and locking the deadbolt just as we heard James shout from the hallway. "I see them. They're in the office." We were in. But for how long? I backed away from the door, my heart pounding against my ribs like a sledgehammer. The office was a stark contrast to the grimy basement outside. It was plush. Thick Persian rugs covered the concrete floor. The walls were lined with mahogany bookshelves. There was a leather couch that cost more than my car, and a massive oak desk that dominated the room. But what caught my eye wasn't the luxury. It was the wall of monitors behind the desk. There were 12 screens, all showing different live feeds from around the hospital. The lobby, the ER, the operating rooms, and the recovery room where I had just been. "He watches everything," Olivia whispered, disgusted. "He's like a spider in his web." "The computer," I pointed to the sleek silver tower on the desk. "Get the files." Olivia ran to the desk and sat in the massive leather chair. She woke the computer up. It's password protected, obviously. Try the same code, I said, leaning against the heavy door, listening for James. Tried it. Didn't work, Olivia typed furiously. He uses different codes for the hardware. Okay, I need to bypass the admin login. This might take a minute. We don't have a minute. Bam. Something heavy slammed into the door behind me. I screamed and jumped away. Open the door, Emma, James yelled from the other side. Don't make this worse for yourself. We can work this out. Work it out? I screamed back, my fear turning into adrenaline-fueled rage. Like you worked it out with Sophia in the hallway? Like you worked out my accidental death? There was a pause. Then a low, dark chuckle. So you heard all that, James said. His voice was calmer now, terrifyingly calm. Well, that complicates things, but it doesn't change the ending, babe. Bam! He hit the door again, harder this time. The wood splintered slightly around the frame. Hurry, Olivia, I pleaded. I'm trying. He has firewall upon firewall. Olivia was sweating, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Wait, I'm in the guest subsystem. I can't access the main records yet, but I can see the backup drive. Check the backup drive. While Olivia worked, I looked down at the phone in my hand. James's phone. It was locked, but I knew his passcode. 11111. He was a simple man with simple secrets. Or so I thought. I unlocked it. My thumb hovered over the icons. I went straight to the voice memos app. There were hundreds of recordings. Most were labeled with dates or project names like Site B Inspection or Union Negotiations. But there was a folder at the top labeled Insurance Strategy. I pressed play on the most recent file. James's voice filled the quiet office, tinny and small coming from the speaker. She's asking about the withdrawals again, William. I can't stall her forever. Then Dr. Davis's voice. Patience, James. The policy doesn't vest for another week. If she dies before then, you lose 40% of the payout. We need to wait until the 15th. I can't wait. James sounded angry. I want to be in Zurich by Christmas. Just stage the accident early. Make it look messy. I don't care if she suffers. In fact, I hope she does. She's been a drag on my life for 10 years, always nagging, always wanting to talk. I'm sick of her voice. I stopped the recording. I felt like I was going to throw up. It wasn't just about the money. He hated me. He genuinely hated me. All those dinners, the vacations, the times he held me while I cried about my mom passing away. It was all an act. He was just waiting for the right time to cash me out like a winning lottery ticket. I got it, Olivia shouted. I found the shadow file. I ran over to the desk. On the screen, 2 documents were open side by side. On the left, patient, James Miller. Diagnosis, blunt force trauma, ruptured aorta, grade 4 hemorrhage. Status, critical divided by terminal. On the right, patient, James Miller. Post, op evaluation, superficial bruising, vital signs, 100% normal. Toxicology, negative. Status, discharged. This is it, Olivia said, pulling a flash drive from her pocket and jamming it into the USB port. This proves fraud. It proves conspiracy. This sends them all to jail for life. Upload it to the cloud too, I said. Just in case. Already doing it. Sending it to your email, my email, and the ACLU tip line just for kicks. Crack. The wood around the door handle gave way. A crowbar smashed through the mahogany, sending splinters flying across the room. Here's Johnny, James yelled. He was losing it. He sounded like a maniac. We're out of time, I said, backing toward the corner of the room. Is it done? 90%. 95%. Olivia stared at the progress bar. Come on. Come on. The door burst open. James didn't walk in alone. Dr. Davis was right behind him, holding the crowbar, and Sophia was there too, looking less perfect now her hair was messed up, and she looked scared. James stepped into the room. He filled the space with his presence. He was breathing hard, sweat dripping down his nose. He looked at me, then at Olivia sitting at the computer. Step away from the desk, James commanded. It's sent, Olivia whispered to me. She yanked the flash drive out and stood up, holding it like a weapon. It's over, Dr. Davis. The files are in the cloud. The police are probably already on their way. Dr. Davis's face went pale. He dropped the crowbar with a heavy clang. You uploaded the shadow files? Everything, Olivia said, her voice trembling but defiant. The fake charts, the insurance emails, the audio logs, everything. You idiot, Davis turned on James. You said she was soft. You said she was stupid. You let them into my office. Shut up, William, James snapped. He walked toward me, slowly. He didn't look at Davis. He only looked at me. Give me the phone, Emma, and give me the drive. No, I said, clutching both to my chest. It's over, James, you lost. I never lose, James said softly. He reached into the back of his waistband. For a second, I thought he was going for a gun. My heart stopped, but he pulled out a jagged piece of metal, a shiv made from a broken piece of construction rebar. He must have had it in his pocket from the accident scene, or maybe he just carried it. It was rusty and sharp. James, stop, Sophia said, her voice high and panic-stricken. If the files are uploaded, killing them won't help. We need to run. We need to get to the airport. I'm not running, James said, his eyes locked on mine. Not until I finish what I started. She ruined everything. My money, my life, my reputation. He lunged. Run, Olivia. I shoved the nurse toward the side door, a small bathroom connected to the office. James wasn't aiming for Olivia. He was aiming for me. I dodged to the left, putting the heavy leather chair between us. He slashed the air where my neck had been a second ago. James, please, I screamed. Look at yourself. You're going to murder your wife in a hospital basement? Is this who you are? This is exactly who I am, James roared, flipping the heavy chair over like it was made of cardboard. I'm the guy who does what it takes, and you're just a loose end. I backed up until I hit the wall of monitors. I had nowhere to go. James cornered me. He raised the metal bar. Say goodbye, Emma. No. Olivia didn't run. She grabbed a heavy brass lamp from the desk and swung it with all her might. Clang. The base of the lamp connected with the back of James's head. It wasn't enough to knock him out. He had a skull like a rock, but it stunned him. He stumbled forward, dropping the metal bar. Go, now! Olivia grabbed my hand. We sprinted past James, who was shaking his head, trying to clear his vision. Dr. Davis tried to block the door, but I lowered my shoulder and rammed him. He was an old man used to holding scalpels, not fighting. He went down hard, wheezing. Sophia just stood there, frozen, watching her empire crumble. We burst back out into the hallway. The parking garage, Olivia yelled. My car's on this level. Employee lot. We ran down the corridor toward the exit sign. I could hear James recovering behind us. I'm going to kill you both. The roar echoed down the tunnel. We burst through the double doors into the parking garage. The humid night air hit us. It was still raining, but lighter now. The garage was dimly lit, concrete pillars casting long shadows. Where is it? I gasped. Blue Honda. Row C. Olivia pointed. We ran. My bare foot was bleeding now, cut on the gravel, but I couldn't stop. I could hear the heavy lobby doors slam open behind us. There. Olivia fumbled for her keys. She pressed the unlock button. The lights of a beat-up blue Civic flashed ahead. We reached the car. Olivia jumped in the driver's seat. I threw myself into the passenger side. Start it. Start it. I screamed, looking out the window. James was sprinting across the parking lot. He had the crowbar now. He was moving like a demon. Olivia turned the key. The engine sputtered. Chug, chug, chug. No, no, no. Olivia smashed the steering wheel. Not now. Come on, baby. He's coming, I yelled. James was 20 feet away. 10 feet. Olivia turned the key again. Vroom. The engine roared to life. She slammed it into reverse just as James reached us. He swung the crowbar. Smash. The passenger window exploded inward. Safety glass sprayed all over me. I screamed, covering my face. James reached through the broken window, his hand grabbing for my throat. He snagged the collar of my trench coat. Gotcha, he snarled, his face inches from mine through the shattered glass. Drive! I shrieked. Olivia floored it. The car jerked backward, tires screeching. James held on. He was dragged along with the car, his boots scraping against the concrete. He was strong, insanely strong. He was trying to pull himself into the moving car. "Shake him off," I yelled. I was punching his hand, clawing at his arm. "Let go, let go." Olivia spun the wheel hard to the left. The car whipped around. Centrifugal force took over. James lost his footing. His grip on my coat slipped. He went flying. He tumbled across the concrete, rolling over and over until he slammed into a concrete pillar with a sickening crunch. He lay there, motionless. "Did we? Is he?" Olivia panted, staring in the rearview mirror. I looked back. James wasn't moving. "Don't stop," I said, shivering, brushing glass off my lap. "Just drive. Get us to the police station. Don't stop for anything." Olivia nodded. She shifted into drive and sped toward the exit ramp. We burst out of the parking garage and onto the wet city streets. The lights of the city blurred past us. We were safe, or so I thought. We drove for 10 minutes in silence, the wind rushing through the broken window. I clutched the flash drive in one hand and James's phone in the other. We had done it. We had the evidence. We had escaped. "Thank you," I whispered to Olivia. "You saved my life." "We're not out of the woods yet," Olivia said, checking her mirrors constantly. "Dr. Davis has connections. We need to get this to the FBI, not just local cops. He plays golf with the police chief." "Okay," I said. "FBI office is downtown. Take the next right." As we turned onto a quiet industrial street, taking a shortcut, headlights appeared in the rearview mirror. Bright, high beams. A large black SUV. "Is that a cop?" I asked. "No lights," Olivia said, squinting. "It's coming up fast." The SUV accelerated. It was going way over the speed limit. It swerved into our lane, right on our bumper. Bump! The SUV rammed us from behind. My head snapped back against the headrest. "They're following us!" I screamed. "It's them! It's Davis!" "Hold on!" Olivia gripped the wheel. She floored the little Honda, but we were no match for the massive SUV. The SUV pulled up alongside us. I looked over. The window rolled down. It wasn't Dr. Davis driving. It was a man I didn't recognize. A thick neck, shaved head, a cleaner, a fixer. Davis had called in the pros. The man swerved the SUV into the side of our car. Metal screamed against metal. Sparks flew. We were pushed toward the curb, toward a steep embankment leading down to the river. "He's running us off the road!" Olivia yelled, fighting the wheel. "Brake! Brake!" I shouted. Olivia slammed on the brakes. The SUV shot past us, expecting us to keep speeding. We spun out, doing a full 360 inches the middle of the wet road, coming to a stop facing the wrong way. The SUV slammed on its brakes 50 yards ahead, tires smoking. It started to turn around. "Go back! Go the other way!" I yelled. Olivia slammed the car into gear, but the engine sputtered and died. "No, no, no." She turned the key. Silence. The impact had killed the battery or the alternator. "It won't start." The SUV had turned around. It was facing us now, engine idling like a beast waiting to charge. The headlights blinded us. "Get out," I said, pushing my door open. "Run to the warehouse." We scrambled out of the car just as the SUV gunned its engine. We sprinted toward an abandoned factory building on the side of the road. It was an old textile mill, dark and looming. We squeezed through a gap in the chain-link fence just as the SUV smashed into Olivia's car, crushing it like a soda can. If we had been inside, we would be dead. We ran into the dark yard of the factory. It was a maze of rusted shipping containers and overgrown weeds. In there, I pointed to a loading bay door that was hanging off its hinges. We ducked inside the massive warehouse. It was pitch black inside, smelling of rot and rust. "Quiet," I whispered. We hid behind a giant rusted boiler. Outside, I heard car doors slam. Footsteps on the gravel. "Find them," a voice said. It wasn't the driver. It was James. He had survived the fall in the parking lot. He was in the SUV, and he sounded hurt, breathless, but still coming. "Burn it down if you have to," James ordered. "No witnesses." We were trapped in an abandoned warehouse with a psychopath and a hitman outside, and no car. I looked at my phone. No signal. The metal walls of the factory were blocking it. "We need to get to the roof," Olivia whispered. "If we can get a signal, we can stream the audio live. Once it's public, they can't touch us." "The roof," I nodded. lead the way." We started climbing the rusted metal stairs toward the catwalks high above. We were climbing into the darkness, with death nipping at our heels. And I knew, deep down, that this night wasn't going to end with an arrest. It was going to end with a body. I just had to make sure it wasn't mine. The metal stairs vibrated under our feet as we climbed into the suffocating darkness of the warehouse. Every step was a gamble. The rusted grating groaned and creaked, threatening to give way and send us plummeting 30 feet down to the concrete floor. Below us, the beam of a flashlight cut through the gloom like a knife. "I hear them," James's voice drifted up from the ground floor. It was calm now, which was terrifying. "They went up. Take the east stairs. I'll take the west. Flush them out." "Copy," a deep, gravelly voice replied. "The fixer." "Faster," I whispered to Olivia. My lungs were burning, and my bare foot was throbbing from the glass cuts, but fear was a powerful anesthetic. We reached the first catwalk level. It was a narrow metal walkway suspended high above the machinery, surrounded by shadows and the smell of old grease. "Phone," Olivia panted, leaning against a rusted pillar. "Check the signal." I pulled James's phone out, searching. 1 bar, then 0, then 1 again. "It's bouncing," I said, frustration tearing at my throat. "The metal roof is blocking it. We have to go higher. Outside." "There," Olivia pointed to a ladder at the far end of the catwalk. "It led up to a skylight maintenance hatch. That leads to the roof." We started running. I tried to be light on my feet, but the metal clanged softly with every step. Clang. A bullet sparked off the railing right next to my hand. I screamed and dropped to my knees. "Stay down!" Olivia yelled, dragging me behind a large ventilation duct. The fixer was already on the level below us, aiming up through the grate. He had a silencer. No loud bang, just the deadly zip of the bullet and the spark of impact. "Go, Kral!" Olivia pushed me forward. We army crawled along the dirty metal grate. Below, I could see the fixer moving methodically, tracking our heat, tracking our noise. But where was James? Suddenly, a heavy boot slammed onto the metal walkway just 10 feet in front of us. I looked up. James was standing there, blocking the path to the ladder. He had climbed the service rungs on the support column. He was covered in dirt, his expensive scrub top torn, bleeding from a cut on his forehead where he had hit the concrete pillar earlier. It looked like a nightmare. "End of the line, Emma," he grinned, his teeth white in the gloom. He held the crowbar loosely in his right hand, tapping it against his leg. Tap, tap, tap. We were trapped. James in front, the fixer below with a gun. "You can't escape," James said, taking a step closer. "Give me the phone, give me the drive, and maybe, just maybe, I'll make it quick." I looked at Olivia. She looked terrified, scanning the area for a weapon. There was nothing but dust and loose bolts. "You don't have to do this, James," I said, standing up slowly, keeping my hands visible. I needed to buy time. "Think about it. The upload started. The police know something is wrong. If you kill us, it's murder 1. If you walk away now, maybe you can run. You have money hidden, right? Go to Switzerland." James laughed. It was a dry, humorless sound. "I don't run, Emma. I win. And the upload? It failed. I saw the error message on the screen before I smashed the computer. You have nothing." He was bluffing. Or maybe he wasn't. My heart hammered. "The fixer!" Olivia yelled suddenly. She wasn't looking at James. She was looking at a heavy chain hanging from a pulley right above the fixer's head on the level below. The chain was secured to the railing next to us by a rusted pin. I understood instantly. James lunged at me with the crowbar. "Die!" I didn't back up. I dove forward not at him, but at the railing. I kicked the rusted pin with my good foot, putting all my desperate strength into it. Snap! The pin gave way. The heavy industrial chain, used for lifting engine parts, unspooled with a deafening screech. The massive steel hook at the end of it swung down like a pendulum. Below, the fixer looked up just as the heavy steel hook slammed into him. It caught him in the chest, lifting him off his feet and throwing him backward into a stack of old oil drums. Crash. He went down hard and didn't move. "You bitch!" James screamed, distracted by the noise. Olivia didn't hesitate. She grabbed a handful of metal shavings and dust from the floor and threw it right into James's face. "My eyes!" he roared, stumbling back, swinging the crowbar blindly. Run, the ladder. We scrambled past him while he clawed at his eyes. I grabbed the rungs of the ladder and started climbing. It was slippery with condensation. I pulled myself up, hand over hand, terrified he would grab my ankle. I reached the hatch, threw the latch, and pushed. It flew open. Rain poured in instantly. I climbed out onto the roof. It was a flat, gravel-covered surface, slick with rain. The wind was howling up here. The city lights twinkled in the distance, so close, yet so far. Olivia pulled herself up behind me. We slammed the hatch shut, but there was no lock on the outside. "Signal!" I yelled over the wind. "Check the signal!" I pulled the phone out. LTE. 4 bars. Yes. I swiped the screen. My wet fingers were slipping. I didn't just want to upload the file. That took too long. I opened the social media app, James's own company account, which had millions of followers. I hit go live. The screen flashed. Live. "We're on!" I shouted. "It's streaming!" I turned the camera to face us. I was soaked, bleeding, terrified. "My name is Emma Miller." I screamed into the phone, hoping the microphone could hear me over the storm. "My husband, James Miller, is trying to kill me. He faked his accident. He's committing insurance fraud. He's in this building right now. Please, anyone watching, send the police to the old textile mill on 5th. The viewer count started ticking up. 10, 50, 100. Suddenly, the hatch behind us exploded open. James climbed out. He had wiped his eyes. He saw me holding the phone. He saw the light of the screen. "Give me that!" he roared, charging across the wet gravel. "Show him!" Olivia yelled. "Show the world!" I turned the camera toward James. "Say hi to your fans, James," I yelled. James didn't care. He was too far gone. He rushed me. I scrambled back, but I slipped on the wet roof. The phone flew from my hand, sliding across the gravel, landing face up, camera still pointing at us. James tackled me. We hit the hard roof with a thud. The air left my lungs. His hands were around my throat instantly. He was heavy, hot, and smelled of violence. "I built everything," he screamed, squeezing. "I built the company. I earned the money. You are nothing. You are just a leech." I clawed at his face. I kicked, but he was too strong. My vision started to spot with black dots. The rain felt like needles on my face. I looked past James's shoulder at the phone, lying a few feet away. The screen was lighting up with comments, thousands of them scrolling by at warp speed. "Oh my God, call 911. Is this real? That's James Miller. Police are on the way. He was killing me live on the internet." "James," I choked out. "Look, shut up and die." Suddenly, a heavy boot connected with James's ribs. Crack. Olivia. She had found a loose piece of pipe on the roof. She swung it like a baseball bat. James grunted and rolled off me, clutching his side. I gasped, sucking in huge gulps of air. "Get up, Emma." Olivia pulled me to my feet. James scrambled up. He was hurt, limping, holding his ribs, but he still had the crowbar. He stood between us and the roof access ladder. We were backed up to the edge of the building. A 4-story drop to the concrete below. Nowhere to go. James wheezed, spitting blood. "I'm going to throw you off. Both of you." A tragic suicide pact. Distraught wife, supportive friend, jumped together. He took a step forward. I looked at Olivia. She was exhausted. I was exhausted, but I looked at the phone on the ground. The viewer count was at 50,000. "You're already dead, James," I said, my voice gaining strength. "Look at the phone." James glanced down. He saw the screen. He saw the live indicator. He saw the comments. For the first time, genuine fear flickered in his eyes. Not fear of me, but fear of being exposed. His mask crumbled. You ruined it," he whispered. "You ruined my image." "Your image?" I laughed. A wild, hysterical laugh. "You're worried about your image?" In the distance, the wail of sirens cut through the storm. Not one siren, dozens. They were getting louder fast. James heard them. He looked at the edge of the roof. He looked at us. He realized there was no escape. The fixer was down. His car was smashed. The police were minutes away. His face twisted into a snarl. "If I go down, I'm taking you with me." He charged. He didn't care about self-preservation anymore. He was a missile aimed straight at me. I didn't run. I couldn't run. I stood my ground near the ledge. "Emma, move!" Olivia screamed. As James lunged to push me off the edge, I dropped to the ground. I didn't try to fight him. I simply dropped flat. James, expecting resistance, expecting a body to shove, hit nothing but air. His momentum carried him forward. He tripped over my prone body. He stumbled toward the low parapet wall. He flailed, dropping the crowbar, his hands grabbing for purchase on the wet stone. He hit the wall waist-high. He tipped over. "Emma!" he screamed, reaching back. His hand caught the sleeve of my trench coat. I was dragged across the gravel. I slid toward the edge. I grabbed the metal flashing of the roof edge with one hand, my legs dangling over the abyss. James was hanging below me, holding onto my coat. He was dangling 4 stories up, his weight tearing the seams of my coat. "Pull me up!" he begged, his eyes wide with terror. The arrogance was gone. He was just a scared little man. "Emma, please. I'm your husband. I love you. Don't let me fall." I looked down at him. I saw the man who had lied to me for a decade. The man who poisoned our marriage. The man who tried to kill me for a bank account. "You don't love anyone but yourself, James," I said. The sirens were deafening now. Blue and red lights flooded the street below, illuminating the wet pavement where he would land. "Emma!" he shrieked. I looked at my coat. The buttons were popping. Pop, pop. "I'm not going to kill you, James," I said softly. "But I'm not going to save you." I shrugged my shoulders. I slipped my arms out of the trench coat sleeves. "No, no!" The coat slid off my body. James, holding only the empty fabric, fell backward. He didn't scream on the way down. He just stared at me with wide, unbelieving eyes. He crashed into a large industrial dumpster filled with cardboard and trash bags in the alley below. Whump. It wasn't a killing fall. The trash broke his impact. I saw him moving down there, groaning, trying to climb out of the garbage. Perfect. He wasn't dead. He was alive. And he was literally in the trash where he belonged. "Police, don't move." A SWAT team swarmed the alley. I watched from above as a dozen rifles pointed at James. They dragged him out of the dumpster. He was limping, covered in filth, crying. They threw him to the ground and cuffed him. "Face down, hands behind your back." I saw the fixer being wheeled out on a stretcher, handcuffed. I pulled myself back onto the roof. Olivia crawled over to me. We sat there in the rain, shivering, bruised, bleeding, and watching the blue lights reflect off the wet clouds. I crawled over to the phone. It was still streaming. I picked it up. My face was a mess. My hair was plastered to my skull, but I smiled, a real, genuine smile. "It's over," I said to the camera. "We're safe." I ended the stream. Olivia wrapped her arms around me. We didn't say a word. We just held each other and cried, letting the rain wash away the fear, the blood, and the last 10 years of lies. 6 months later, the sun was shining so brightly it felt like a completely different world. I sat at a small outdoor table at a cafe in downtown Charleston, wearing huge sunglasses and a sun hat. The air smelled like jasmine and freshly ground coffee. "Order for Emma," the barista called out. I stood up, grabbing my iced latte. I felt light, physically and emotionally. I had sold the big empty apartment. I had sold the flashy car. I had donated all of James's expensive suits to charity. I walked back to the table where Olivia was waiting. She looked amazing. She had cut her hair into a chic bob and was wearing a bright yellow sundress. She wasn't just a nurse anymore. She was the new head of patient advocacy at a competing hospital system. After the scandal, everyone wanted to hire the hero nurse. "Did you see the news?" Olivia asked, tapping her tablet. I sat down and took a sip of my drink. I try not to. "You should see this one," she smiled, sliding the tablet over. The headline read, "Miller sentencing finalized, life without parole." There was a picture of James. He looked 10 years older. His head was shaved, and he was wearing an orange jumpsuit. He looked miserable. The article detailed everything: the insurance fraud, the conspiracy to commit murder, the money laundering. Dr. Davis had turned on him to get a lighter sentence, giving the feds everything. Davis got 20 years. Sophia got 15. James, as the mastermind, got the book thrown at him. "He's going to rot in there," Olivia said. And he's broke. The court seized everything. Not everything, I corrected her. The judge ruled that my personal inheritance and the settlements from the hospital's negligence suit are untouchable. He tried to sue me for emotional distress from prison. Can you believe that? What did the judge say? He laughed and threw the case out. I looked at the picture of James one last time. I felt nothing. The anger was gone. The fear was gone. He was just a stranger who had taught me a very expensive, very painful lesson. So? Olivia closed the tablet. What's the plan for the Emma Foundation? I smiled. That was my new project. I was using the settlement money, millions of dollars from the hospital that had allowed a fake surgery ring to operate, to start a nonprofit. We were going to help victims of medical fraud and domestic financial abuse. We were going to help women who were told they were crazy or soft find their voices. We opened the doors on Monday, I said, and I need a director of operations, someone smart, brave, and good with a baseball bat. Olivia laughed, clinking her coffee cup against mine. I'm in, but only if we get an office with a view. Deal, I said. I looked out at the street. People were walking by, laughing, holding hands. Life was moving on, and for the first time in a long time, I was moving with it. I took a deep breath. It didn't smell like antiseptic. It didn't smell like fear. It smelled like freedom. To us, I said, raising my glass. And to the trash taking itself out. To us, Olivia beamed. We drank our coffee in the sun, two survivors who had walked through fire and came out made of steel. And as I looked at my best friend, I knew one thing for sure. I was going to be just fine. And they lived happily ever after, with a big smile. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.